The story kicked off on the Staten Island ferry, the Mortimer, during a late-night inspection. Two maintenance workers, Neil and Dominique, were checking things out. Neil pointed to a rusty hole in the metal wall, saying it was from the 1920s. Using a crowbar, he forced open a sealed compartment, buzzing with excitement. "This piece of history's gotta be worth at least 50 grand, he said, thinking he'd hit the jackpot. But suddenly, a shadowy figure emerged from the dust. Out of nowhere, a terrifying monster roared and lunged, biting off Neil's nose in one snap. Scared out of her wits, Dominique ran for her life, but in her panic, she tripped and fell into the compartment. At that moment, a deep growl echoed from above. The creature was Steamboat Willie, a massive, cunning humanoid mouse. The scene shifted. The Mortimer ferry pulled away from the dock, heading toward its destination. Meanwhile, a teenage boy wandered alone into the lounge area. He was about to use some illegal drugs when a creepy whistle sounded nearby. He looked around but saw no one. Turning back, he noticed his mask had mysteriously dropped to the floor. Puzzled, he heard the whistle again. Curious, he went to pick up the mask, but it suddenly spun and sprouted legs. Thinking it was a prank, he got mad and turned to leave, but then the door behind him creaked open on its own. Glancing back, he saw the mask was gone. Peering into the doorway, he spotted it inside. Terrified, he tried to run, but Willie slashed his ankle with a knife. The boy crawled away, groaning in pain. In a flash, Willie grabbed a torch from the ground and drove it into the back of the boy's head. At the same time, a young woman named Selena needed to use the bathroom, but the women's restroom was under repair. In a rush, she slipped into the men's room instead. She heard unsettling chewing noises coming from one of the stalls. As she leaned in to investigate, EMT Amber startled her from behind. Amber had found Selena's lost sketchbook, but it was already soaked. Selena tossed it in the trash without a second thought and, still shaken, hurried out of the restroom. She didn't realize her quick exit had just saved her life. Soon after, a spotlight on the ferry's top deck swung unexpectedly. Officer Pat went to check it out. He caught a glimpse of a fast-moving shadow nearby and went on high alert. As he stepped closer, a hammer smashed into his right foot, followed by another blow to his left leg. The pain was so intense he couldn't stand. Crawling, he desperately reached for his gun, but the hammer came crashing down on his hand. While Selena was enjoying the breeze, she faintly heard someone calling for help. Following the sound to the back of the ferry, she stumbled upon a horrifying sight. Pat's body, torn apart by the ship's propeller. At that moment, Willie turned, saw her screaming, and cheerfully waved at her. Terrified, Selena bolted and told the ferry crew what she'd seen, but by the time they got there, the sea had swallowed everything. Some of the crew started doubting her story. Meanwhile, the fog was getting thicker. Captain Clark tried to radio the control tower, but the signal was awful. A strange noise caught his ear, and he cautiously looked around but found nothing. Then, a photo on the wall grabbed his attention. As he stepped closer to inspect it, he saw a terrifying reflection in the glass. In the struggle that followed, Willie slashed Clark's throat with a wire. Leaping onto Clark's lifeless body, Willie danced with glee before taking the helm and changing the ferry's course. Still shaken, Selena insisted she'd seen a demonic rodent in shorts and a hat, but no one believed her. Only Pete, a deckhand, tried to comfort her, saying, "Anything can happen in New York." Just then, First Mate Tommy headed to the wheelhouse to report, only to find it a blood. He tried to contact the control tower, but there was no signal. The navigation system was down too, leaving them completely lost in the dense fog. Tommy told Pete to gather the passengers to hunt for the killer. Elsewhere, two social media influencers were filming a video, their loud music catching Willie's attention. He clearly didn't like their type, seeming disgusted by their vanity. As they posed and tried new angles, Willie lost his patience. He climbed onto a bulldozer, started it up, and drove straight toward them. But when the girls saw the lights, they thought it made their video cooler, clueless that disaster was seconds away. Amber, passing by, witnessed the scene, giving Willie a chance to slip away. On the lower deck, the crew had rounded up some passengers. Amber found Selena, saying she finally believed her story. "Right now, we need to warn the others who don't know yet," she said. But a locked door blocked their path. Lieutenant Diaz, a police officer on the ferry, announced Captain Clark's murder, sending the passengers into a panic. To calm them, Diaz confidently said, "If we work together, we can catch the killer." The crowd got fired up, cheering and pledging to help. But the next second, a metal rod pierced Diaz's throat. As he collapsed, everyone saw Willie's true face. He spun around, dancing proudly over his latest kill. The passengers mustered their courage to capture Willie alive, but he didn't flinch. He grabbed a fire hydrant and turned the valve on the crowd. The powerful water pressure knocked them all down. Then he smashed the electrical panel, electrocuting everyone on the deck. Luckily, Selena and 2 others, stuck outside, survived the massacre. Soon, Pete and the remaining survivors reached the wheelhouse. The bad news, Tommy was dead. The good news, since Pete hadn't finished his internship, he was now officially the ferry's captain. Pete remembered an emergency supply box at the bottom of the ship that might have a flare gun to signal for help. Just then, an elderly man named Barry climbed up from below, terrified. He said the urban legend about Steamboat Willie was true. Back in the 1930s, a kind captain named Walter found a strange mouse in the ship's hold, like some failed lab experiment. Walter named it Willie, and they bonded like something out of a fairy tale. But a storm hit, and Walter slipped and fell into the sea. Heartbroken, Willie turned twisted and unstable, killing passengers on this very ferry. If no one had seen the monster themselves, no one would believe such a wild story. Their only hope now was to find the flare gun and signal for rescue. Since no one knew the ship's layout well, they split into 2 teams to search for supplies. Pete teamed up with Moses, but they hadn't gone far when they ran into Dominique, the maintenance worker from earlier. She'd been working in the engine room and survived the initial attack. She said the flare launcher still worked, but the ship's power system was shot, and she needed their help to fix it. Without suspicion, they followed her. They reached the launcher, but then Dominique swung a steel pipe hard at Moses. She'd already given in to Willie and was working for him. Meanwhile, Selena and Amber spotted Willie nearby. They stayed silent, but Amber accidentally stepped on a long nail, crying out in pain. At that moment, they saw the emergency supply box nearby. Selena rushed to open it, but a creepy whistle sounded behind her. Turning in fear, she saw Willie smiling, offering her a flower made of human ears. Selena screamed in terror. Amber seized the moment, stabbing Willie in the eye with the nail, forcing him to flee. But when they opened the box, it was empty. Willie entered the engine room. When Dominique saw him, she stood at attention and saluted, saying she'd followed his orders and begging him to spare her. But, wounded and furious, Willie turned on her, biting her to death. Moses grabbed a flare stick, handed it to Pete, and told him to take his son, Mateo, and escape. Then Moses aimed a flare gun at Willie. A massive explosion rocked the engine room, and water flooded in from the bottom. The doors warped, trapping them inside. Pete handed Mateo to Selena for safety, then turned to fight Willie. But in the water, Willie had the upper hand, and Pete soon went silent. Selena, Amber, and Mateo rushed to the wheelhouse. Mateo found an old photo of Walter and Willie together. Unfolding a bent corner revealed a second mouse, Willie's female mate. It became clear Willie had been roaming the seas all these years, searching for his lost love. Selena suddenly noticed her sling bag's pattern matched the female mouse's dress exactly, explaining why Willie hadn't attacked her. She quickly came up with a plan to deal with him. Amber took Mateo to the deck as the fog cleared. Patrol boat appeared in the distance, but then Willie's eerie whistle returned. Amber grabbed a steel pipe and fought him but was knocked down. At that critical moment, Selena appeared, disguised as Willie's lost mate. Mesmerized, Willie approached, but Selena swung a hammer and missed. He bolted. While checking Amber's injuries, Selena didn't notice Willie spot Mateo hiding in the corner. He cruelly pushed the boy into the sea. Selena rushed to save him but twisted her ankle, nearly falling in herself. Willie raised a steel pipe to finish her off, but the moment reminded him of his mate's fall. He couldn't do it. Instead, he pulled Selena to safety and offered her a daisy, trying to win her affection. Suddenly, Amber reappeared, distracting Willie. Selena took the chance, stabbing him in the head with scissors. Willie fell into the ocean. Mateo, clinging to a floating trash bin, survived. Selena saw the rescue boat getting closer, and they finally breathed a sigh of relief. But unbeknownst to them, among the debris washed ashore, Willie lay, barely alive. If you want interesting movie recaps, like, share, and subscribe to follow us for more movie recaps.